everyone, and welcome at this morning's Property Pulse event. Everybody's still joining. I hope you have a lovely cup of coffee. Please, in the chat, drop a hello. It's always great to see you. Good morning, the Rawsons Paulsoft team. Morning, Lindy. It's nice to see you from Key West. Zonita, it's nice to have you online. I don't know any of you, I see the Zoom has updated, so you have nice reaction buttons. So Lizanne, thank you for that amazing example. Use them because, as you know, we get our energy from you. And ask questions, because this is a time where you can ask questions and nobody's going to bill you for it. Is that not just amazing? But you get all of this insight, and that's really going to help. And this morning, I am so excited to have Zabeth Venter from Averly with us. And you most probably going, Averly, who's Averly? What do they do? Sit back, relax. We are going to give you all of that information. Is that not just amazing? Because, you know, one of our jobs, Armand and myself, and the whole Expella team, is we see how can we make the lives of rental agents and property owners much, much easier. Well, I'm jumping in because I'm so excited about this morning. Just if you don't know, I'm Elise Leroux. I'm the CEO of Expella and the founder. And online with me as well, I have the very handsome Armand now, my co-business partner. That's also online. Hello, Armand. I love it when he does his fancy face. And you guys know we are always available for any questions or any advice or anything that you need. So we are going to share our details a bit later again. But because I know we all are on the go, and most of us is already going in, but it's almost the end of the year. So from Expella's side, I am going to remind you, if your tenant didn't pay, please send out that letter of demand. We are seeing that the courts are starting to give us dates in January if we start an eviction. So if we don't get the letter of demand, we cannot start our magic. We cannot see if we can prevent that eviction, and it's just going to put more and more pressure. So if they send out that letter of demand, and if you're scared, because I get that, it's like, you know, that missile sign that you have to press and you're going to get all that backlash. But wait till, if you send it out, say to them, it's a system-generated letter. And if you're an Expella client, you are welcome to say, I didn't have a choice. Expella is making me send the letters. Okay, we will take the brunt. That's why we are here, to take all of that pressure off you. Okay, so that is just on that. But let's jump in. So, Bev, very welcome from, I understand, a bit called Cape Town.
Good morning, Elise. Yes, it is still winter in Cape Town. We haven't reached spring yet. So Cape Town is not trying hard enough at this moment.
Oh, shame. Well, I have to say in Gauteng, it's nice and warm, but I see we have people all over. Geran, I know, is also, I think it's not in Gauteng and it's not Cape Town. Geran, I'm not going to put I know you are in a small town, but I'm not going to put my head on a block immediately. So, Beth, thank you for being with us this morning. And I know you come from an accounting background, finances. Tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get to Averly?
Okay, so yes, I'm a trained CA. Spent my first few years in auditing, I think for all my sins. Had to do audits all over the world. And then I actually joined an insurance company. And that is where I really fell in love with data and profiling and all of those risk management and property. So property, I really have a soft spot for property. And then just before COVID, I think 3 months before COVID, my husband and my brother-in-law, who is also in the property industry, said, listen, there are so many issues and risks in the rental game. Let's see if we can actually deal with that and make it a better place and create this awesome rental experiences. And that's where I then left my job and my salary and everything that goes with that, and joined the Averly team. And yeah, 5 years down the line, really grateful for all the experiences and the learnings that we've taken on this journey. So that,
That
yeah, I
that
hope that's
sounds
clear enough.
amazing.
Yep.
That sounds amazing. Zabeth, now we are all on the tip of our chairs. To please tell us, what is Averly and how is it going to help a rental agent on their journey or doing the best that they can?
Okay.
You will be
So
able to
yes.
share your screen.
Okay, awesome. I'll do that in a minute. So I love October, and when you asked me to join this webinar, I sort of took a moment to think, you know what, October for me means I've almost survived the year, because I can see December and you sort of everybody's gearing up for that. But it's also a time to actually just reflect, so how did this year go? And I think if we look at it, and people, you can indicate whether you agree with this or not, because I really feel passionate about this. But if we look at our world today, it's a little bit more risky. And I think, Elise, if I remember correctly, you also mentioned in previous webinars that there's increasingly more fraudulent documents submitted as part of a application. So our lives are risky. It's also expensive. If we look at things like the pay-prop rental index, people are really struggling to afford their rents. And we are more and more seeing that people have to apply jointly to be able to cover their rent. So that's a problem. Our world is getting more competitive. And I think in the past, it used to be a world where you can just do more of what you're currently doing. So just do more admin, do more tasks on behalf of your landlord, and you will be good. But that's not true anymore. You actually have to show off your value and what makes you special. Compared to the rest of the market. And then the legal environment. And I think that's where you guys are so awesome at it. Just to stay on top of all the legal changes is a full-time job. And when I speak to agents, a lot of them are spending more and more and more time in legal training. So if you think about that world that we are facing ourselves in, it's about experience. So what experience are you creating when you do your rentals? How do you use your data to create that competitive edge, but also to help you to risk manage very easily? And how do you do it cost effectively? Because the more solutions you put in place, that just means more cost for you as an agent. And you can't always pass that on to your tenant and your landlord. And that is where Averly comes in. So I see her as your rental concierge, your wing woman or wing man. You can choose which one you like. But she really needs to, she is there for you and helping you to spend less time on admin and more time on experience building and relationship building. And so Averly is a vast system, and I don't want to do a demo because I want everybody to take something from this and say, hey, I can use this in my world. So what I did is I actually thought about applications, because you spend a lot of time in applications, inspections, and renewals. And obviously, so Averly covers that all. So Averly is this one place to do all your rental related tasks. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of go through the things that we hear from agents and the issues that agents are experiencing, and then show you how your world could look like. And then I want you all to just think and say, okay, is my world like this? Is it as easy as this? And then, yeah, please ask questions, and Elise, jump in if you see that there are questions that we don't answer. So let's start at the real beginning. A very wise agent told me once, you know what? My clients are tenants and landlords, because you never know when a tenant will become your next landlord buying a property from you, or vice versa. So I have to treat both with the utmost respect and the greatest experience. So let's look at it from a tenant's perspective. So when you do an application, that is really expensive for a tenant. And most applications are sort of a hit and miss. You know, you never know what you're in for. So you can actually have a world. And from an agent's perspective, you see a lot of tenants during a day when you do viewings. And when you get at the end of the day, you have to go and sit and do all those emails to make the tenants, you know, apply for the property. It could be as simple as taking your phone out of your pocket, clicking on applications, click on invite tenant, type in the email address and say send invitation. What that does, it makes you look really tech savvy and awesome. And look what the tenant receives in their inbox. So a personalized email with your picture as the agent, your logo, so it's branded, they know exactly who they are dealing with, inviting the tenant to apply for a property. So not complete your application because I want to screen you, but hey, we're entering a really great, possible, really great relationship. All I want you to do is please complete your application. So when they actually click in to Averly and create their own personal profile, this is what they will experience. A personalized welcome note from you as the agency. We give them a complete breakdown of all the costs. So why is this important? A lot of tenants tell us that, you know what, doing an application is a very difficult process because you are never informed. You don't know what the total cost of this rental will be. And then when you actually agree to the contract, you now are faced with paying a deposit and paying a lease fee and paying for an inspection. A tenant should know that upfront so that they can also budget. Recurring costs, you can exactly tell them what's included, what's excluded in the rent, when do they need to pay their rent. So by the 7th, you will be able to tell them exactly what documents they need to upload as part of the application. And these documents include your KYC for FICA purposes and the FICA survey, which is really awesome because now already you've cut down the number of documents and attachments you have to put in your application. It's all in one go.
So, Beth, I'm
And
going to quickly jump in there because
yeah,
you said something that's very, very valuable. And if you just go up a bit there where you set out the costs, I just want to tell all the agents, you know, from this view, it's so clear. You won't believe the amount of breaches we had in the past month where people not paying because they didn't understand the cost. And I get it. It's in those hundred of pages that you email the tenants and all of those type of things, but they don't read everything because it's so much cluttered. And I just had to say that this looks very, very nice.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is just the start of the application, right? But by doing this, what you have achieved as an agency, you created consistency because your agents do not have to worry about, am I telling them to submit the right information? Your agents can also not decide, oh, well, I want to clinch this deal quickly, so let's just ask them to do 1 or 2 documents. You make sure that you actually adhere to your full process. And you can now safely tell your tenant that you are actually sharing your very sensitive information with me in a secure environment. And that's the other thing we find. A lot of tenants tell the agent, well, I'm not going to give you my bank statements or my financial statements of my company because where are those documents going to lie? Is it going to be on your desk, in a drive somewhere? Who has access to it? With sharing through Averly, it's secure. It goes straight to the agent who needs to deal with it, and the documents can't be phished or hacked or all of those things that usually happens with PDFs in emails. And then, yeah, so the upload, and that also because they are sometimes very reluctant to put that on an email or share that with you. So now you can actually deal with that in a safe environment. And then when they click on start application, we take them through the process, making sure they tell you who is going to pay for the rent. They need to give you all the authorizations to be POPI and FICA compliant. And they can actually change their mind. So a lot of agents have two application documents. One, if you use a company to pay for your rentals, and the other one, if you're an individual. With Averly, it doesn't matter. You always start with the individual. They give you the information, not their financial information. But if I decide, okay, I think I'm actually going to get my company to pay for this rent, I choose someone else. And Averly immediately updates and say, well, in that case, we need financial statements, CM documents, and. So you can sit back as the agent and relax, and the tenant have the ability to do this application at 10 o'clock at night without having any problems. There's the FICA survey. So I'm just going to quickly jump there. So you will see everything that you need to know about this tenant is actually answered as part of the application. And then we add some documents. And we make sure we know exactly who's going to live with this person. Do they have pets? Lease information, everything in one place. And you will see Averly, actually, I call her a girl. You can call her, see her however you want. She's your concierge, but she moans a lot. So if the tenant is not giving you the information that you want as part of an application, she will not allow them to continue with the application. And that again is also it makes life easier for you, but also makes the experience much better for the tenant. So, but let's just jump. So say for instance, the tenant now submitted their application. Then Averly keeps them in the loop to tell them where the application process is right now. Again, making it so easy for the tenant that they don't have to call you every 10 minutes to know where are you with this application. And say, for instance, if you go through the application and you realize, ooh, okay, I think for this tenant, we need some additional documents because you have to apply your own discretion still. It is very important. Instead of now emailing or WhatsApping and losing those documents along the way, you just ask them, just click on additional documents, add the document as an attachment. So let's say we want a utility bill. And as soon as it's uploaded here, it is actually viewable by the agent. So, yeah. So just from a tenant's perspective, you are already answering all those questions and actually helping the tenant to make the best possible decision. But now, what does it look like from an agent's perspective? So you can see here, this is the property I started the application process on. So the first thing is you have a complete view of every single person that you invited to do an application for this property. So no need for diaries anymore or clogging your phone and your contact lists with all the tenants that are still in process of doing an application.
Yeah.
Wing Women Averly will actually remind these tenants that they haven't done their application yet. So you don't have to do that all the time. But now, for the ones that actually did complete their applications, you will get them again in one place, which allows you to actually have a look at them and choose the best one. Because in previous webinars, we actually asked agents, so how do you do your application? Is it on a first come, first serve basis? Or do you actually wait and see who is my best candidate and then put that forward to your landlord. And this is really what Averly also enables you to do. But let's quickly have a look at one of the applications. So with the Averly as your wing woman, she will remind you what this person is applying for. So you don't have to go and scratch in your files and try to remember. She tells you whether you have approval for credit checks and background checks. And I'll show you why this is important, because when you do a company application, you actually need that confirmation from your company. Affordability, here you can see, and this is all customizable. So there are certain choices that you as an agency can make, and then Averly will make sure that is happening. So here's your FICA survey, and you can have a look at that and then start your risk management process immediately. And a nice thing about Averly is she integrates with TPN and PayProp, which gives you the ability to actually automate your credit checks. So now you have everything in one go. And now you can actually spend your time looking at those small nuances in this application rather than to chase the documents and trying to find, get the tenant to submit those documents. And some of those nuances are inconsistencies. So if you look at the credit report and you look at the information that the tenant revealed about themselves, a small thing that we picked up is if you call yourself the CEO of a company, but in your employment contract and the other information that you submitted, you are like the manager or something like that. That's a small thing that you need to look out for. Or if you say that you're, I'm just going to use that as one example, but then also reluctance to share. I touched on that. Some people are really scared about sharing their personal information because of all the identity theft and things that happens. But if they are still reluctant to share their information once you've told them that this is a secure environment, or they are making tens of millions of excuses why they can't submit the documents, that's a very red flag. And then you should actually think about, do I really want to accept this person as a tenant? The
So
other thing, yes.
Sorry, if just to ask, and I might be jumping the gun, because you are giving such valuable information on everything, with everybody. I see the Averly score is there on the side. Am I jumping the gun? Are you going to explain to us how you get to that? I see that's the page.
Just now. Yes. Yes. So, and this is the bit where you actually make your value counts and give your data the competitive edge. So one thing that we have also created, because we saw in South Africa, we struggle a lot with credit scores, right? A lot of people do not have any credit. So, which is a good thing sometimes if you live on cash and you live within your means. But sometimes it is actually just not possible for that person to have credit. So how can they prove that they are paying their rent and paying their bills if they don't have access to that? So what we have created is an interview. I like to see it as an interview. It is a survey where we worked with a lot of agents and asked them, what do you like to ask tenants that will give you a more holistic view of that tenant? And what was very evident for us is credit checks focus on your financial ability, but it tells you what happened previously. It doesn't give you any information about that person's philosophy about their financial situation, and it is not specific to rentals. So we created the first part of the survey deals with how do you think about your rental payments? And we can ask direct questions like, do you pay your rent on time? And every single person on this call will currently chuckle and say, yeah, right. So find me that tenant who's going to say no. But that is now where our survey is unique, because we can pick up when somebody is not too confident about what they're saying. But we didn't stop there. Looking at your property is also very important, because a tenant can pay their rent every single month. But if they mess up the property and they move out, your poor landlord is at a loss, because now they have to repair that property to make it rentable again. So the second part of the survey looks at how a tenant will look after their property. And there we ask direct questions like, do you look after your property? Do you do maintenance? And those kind of things. And again, now we can give you a holistic view about, are they really going to look after the property? And then the third part of the interview is just social skills. So will they be that neighbor moving into your estate who will annoy every single person around them? So it's not a psychotherapy or a psychological assessment, but it is how easy is it to get along with this person. And this really helps you if you have no other information available. This will give you a better view of what to expect of the tenant. And I always say, I think everybody probably worked with ChatGPT. It's awesome AI. But sometimes if you ask her a question, she gives you a funny answer back. And that is because of the data that she's getting, you know? So it can happen with these kind of surveys and interviews that you get funny information back. But that in itself is a red flag. So if the Averly score is really good, your credit check, if it's available, is really bad, you have to think what's going on, and vice versa. And we've seen that over the past 5 years, a lot of awesome examples where the survey actually highlighted some risk that wouldn't have been evident in any other way. But we've also expanded that, Elise, and we are giving agents the ability to give feedback on their tenants. And you can do that at any point in time during the lease contract. So a good example would be like if you do your interim inspection. So that's a great time to say, hey, this tenant actually really looks after the property very well. Let's give them the benefit of that. And you can give some comments, or you can say, oh, no. There's a lot of breakage waiting to be repaired. So let's just highlight that here. And you can, again, we look at the 4 areas, and that gives you a more holistic view of the tenant as well. This then serves, call it your TripAdvisor, your Trustpilot score. You know, it gives you a better view of the tenant when you actually have to approve the application. And
So
then,
I just want to ask, those comments that somebody now gives, if that tenant then applies somewhere else, will the other people also see those comments? So this is
100%.
not just for yourself, but for everybody in the future.
Exactly. And the tenant cannot get rid of it. So there's no way that could be lost or altered or just hidden. Yeah. So that travels with them as they apply.
That's very amazing. And I just want to add here, and because that's what we've been seeing on our breaches, you know, people don't just not pay, but some of them are very aggressive, and some of them are really terrible people. You know, there's a different thing of, you know, it's embarrassing, they filled with shame, and, you know, you deal with it sensitively, but you get people that's very abusive and malicious. And you sort of want to warn. And I'm going to throw it in here, Zabeth. That's why we are so excited because we are sharing that data with Averly to say that, you know, somebody didn't pay, but they actually cooperated. They walked, you know, they helped throughout the process and they did the right thing. Or, oh, put a skeleton on the scene and they've been worse and they didn't cooperate or anything. And I think that information is so valuable, is as valuable as any credit check.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And that's also where the interaction between Expello and Averly is to the benefit of the agent. Because if you're now at your application stage and you see, oh, this tenant has a 3.1, which is average, it's good. but there can be problems potentially. That is the point where you actually go to Expello and do your application there, and with a score of above 3, it will be a positive experience. And then you get yourself covered as well before you enter into the agreement. So that is really where we try to make a difference as well. And then a new feature that we implemented this week is now you can also download all of this information, and you can choose whether you want a full report or a limited report. And when you actually download that, just want to show you, you get a full download of everything that the tenant submitted to you, and you can then share that with your landlord. So again, making them see how hard do you really work, and that you are not just nilly-willy accepting tenants in their properties. You are actually doing a proper due diligence on them. So like I said, a full report like this one that I showed you, but we also have limited reports if you just want to show them, the sneak peek of everything that you have done. Okay, so that is a bit of highlights on applications and how we can actually streamline that and help you to make a quick decision and get that awesome tenant placed in your property very quickly.
So
I don't know if there's any questions.
I see there's actually one question by Kim, and her question is, their company has their own tailored FICA policy documents in place. How would one integrate this so that that our questionnaire can be completed as opposed to the pre-populated questions on your system? I assume most of your questions on your system is exactly what is required in terms of FICA.
Yes. So we have worked extensively with agents to make sure that our questionnaire is as complete as possible. So what we do with an agency that onboards, we'll actually work through your questionnaire, see if there are any additional questions that's really important to you, and incorporate that in the questionnaire. The reason why we do it that way, to have it built into Averly rather than to actually keep a separate document, is we can actually now govern the completion of that. Because a tenant can choose not to do certain questions if they have a piece of paper, or they can choose not to fill in something in a Google sheet. But if you put it in a system like Averly, we can actually tell them, hey, you missed question 5. Please go back and answer that. And they can't get away not answering those questions. So that's really why we do it that way. But if you really want it in a separate document, there is also a way to accommodate that.
So the good news is afterwards, I am going to share Zabeb's contact details, also a QR code that you guys can scan, and somebody from her office will make contact with you. So we will share that at the end of today. Zabeb, what are you showing us now?
Okay. So now we jump a little bit to your inspections. And that is also an area where people forget that the information that you are gathering there is really, really valuable. Whether you want the tenant to actually renew their contract, or what are the type of maintenance that a landlord needs to do to get a specific type of tenant. Now with Averly, all of that sits in one system, which means you can actually now start to use your data. But today, I'm just going to focus on how easy it is to do this, because operationally, we see that inspections takes a very long time. And how can you actually make it work for you so that when you walk out of that property, everything's done? So here I have a property. We have placed our tenant. And you can see there are the 2 matters that I noted in my previous inspection. I'm just going to do let's do a move-in inspection. And now Hannah is my tenant, and you see Averly knows all of this because the application was done, the lease was done on Averly, and we know exactly who the tenant is. So I'm going to start my inspection, and here you'll see my entire property is already set up, so I don't have to do anything. You don't have to wait for people to set up your inspection or to change your property, you are in control. You're in the driver's seat and you can do changes and initiate the inspection yourself. So let's see. I'm going to do a floor. We have access to your phone's camera. You can take as many pictures as you want. And when you're done, you just say, okay, this is just for note, or you can choose it's a maintenance issue. You say create snag. It's lifted to the cloud. We don't store these photos in your photo library. So I'm a firm believer, keep business in business and pleasure in pleasure. So we're not going to clog your library with all those pictures. It is stored on your phone until it was synced with the cloud, and then it's gone. So then you can safely sit back and relax. And then when you're done, you just say save and close. And now you can actually create a report immediately. And you can, when the tenant is with you in the property, sign that report in one go. So I'm the agent, I'm signing first. And now I'm saying, okay, but I want my tenant to sign while they're with me. When they click on the place where they have to sign, Averly creates an OTP. I'm just waiting for it to come through quickly.
So while you wait, that's a very clever thing, because how often will people say, well, I didn't sign there, or dispute? And now they can't, because, I mean, they had to verify it through their cell phone that they're actually the ones that's going to sign.
100%, 100%. And that is exactly why we included it, because now you have physical evidence that's created by a system that nobody can dispute.
Okay.
Okay, and then we also asked them, sorry.
No, I will say, look at that amazing questions.
Yeah, and this was specifically incorporated to say, okay, you did go through the property. It doesn't have to be at the inspection itself. So you don't have to stay there as the tenant for 2 hours. But as long as the agent took the tenant through the property and showed them everything that they picked up, that is also sufficient. You just need to know what's happening. Did you read your property condition report? Yes. Do you understand your terms? And now Hannah can actually sign her report. And when you actually now say, okay, thanks, the report is shared with the tenant automatically. You don't have to create an email or a special link. It is in their profile immediately, and it's stored on your site too. So again,
amazing.
Don't have to duplicate things and don't have to make it complicated. I'm just going to jump back quickly to my laptop.
So Beth, while you jump, Lerata's asking a very good question. She's asking, does the inspection camera feature also allow for videos, or was it only photos?
So it is only photos at this stage, but we are actually launching a beta version of our inspection tool. So we have an enhanced inspection tool that will use a 360 functionality and virtual tours going forward.
Ooh, that's exciting to look forward.
Yeah, what we found is a video is not always the best way of capturing issues in a property. And when you have to go back and find that problem, you have to sit through the whole video and then hopefully find that frame where you can see, was there a cat door in the kitchen door or not? Whereas with 360 functionality and the AI that we are employing on top of that, Averly will actually be able to pick that up automatically and say, well, version 1, no cat door, version 2, cat door. So obviously the tenant actually put a cat door in without getting proper authorization. So yeah, watch this space. We are making it available to our current clients as a beta version so that they can give us comments, but it will be available to the rest of the public soon.
Fantastic.
The other thing about the inspections that's really great is when you do a move-in inspection. So firstly, your tenant actually have access to that. So here you can see they can go in and view their report that I've just done and signed. So they can actually go in, but now they also have a view of all the snacks. Plus, in the first 7 days of your inspection, they can add to those. So say, for instance, the stove doesn't heat up and you didn't pick it up as part of your inspection. The tenant can now just log it immediately on Averly, which helps you so that you don't have to go back and find that WhatsApp or the email or the SMS that the tenant sent you. All, again, is in one place. You can go back and say, okay, that was valid, so let's keep it there. And when you get to move out stage, it's already included there. But they can also log their maintenance. And all of those things are really important. Again, from an agent's perspective, if your maintenance is stacking up and your landlord is not doing the maintenance as it should, that's maybe not a tenant conversation, but the landlord conversation. And again, having that data in your pocket so that you can give them a report and say, well, let's talk about this. And Averly enables all of that. Then the last thing I want to jump to is renewals. So in the past 2 months, we've been getting quite a lot of feedback on how terrible a renewal process can be. First, you might miss that notification and not give notice within your legal time frame, which then means the tenant can stay a month longer. So what a system like Averly helps you to do is she reminds you of all the leases that are coming up, and you can choose the time period. So if you want a heads up 3 months ahead of time, 6 months ahead of time, you set that up on Averly, and here you can see this is my list of all my properties, and Averly even tells you when the lease is ending. So now if we click in on this one, now she takes you through a process where you can say, okay, let's review the lease. So obviously your value is in the discussion with your landlord. So Averly doesn't do that, but you can go and tell your landlord, you know what, awesome tenant, let's renew, let's decide on the terms, and then you actually just choose. So let's give them a break and give them R1,000 back on their deposit. And let's only make the rentals 500 more because they're really great. There's my heads up period. And when I actually click thanks, Averly notifies the tenant immediately of their terms. And what they can do, it's literally acceptance by the click of a button. So here you will see Averly is now giving my tenant the heads up that there's some new terms available. And you can see new lease will start on the 6th of December. There's the monthly rent, and your tenant can say yay or nay. And Averly will then actually give you as the agent the heads up. So you can see, let's go to Hannah here. Let's ask Hannah to say yes. So there she let the agent know I am happy to stay. And if we quickly update and go to Hannah now, you will see you're now in a renewed state. So now I can go do my addendum or my new contract, and your renewal is done. Same with if you want to give notice and want to end the lease. And this is where the Averly score again comes in handy. So what we see in properties like student accommodation, where you have 400 people changing, their leases in the same time frame, it's very easy to miss that troublemaker and not give them notice. And then you renew that lease and you go like, oh, but I actually didn't want to do that. So with Averly, you can give yourself a heads up and just flag the tenant so that when you have to do that renewal, oh, no, not this one. Let's give them notice that they need to move out, and then make it much easier to do that. So I want to stop here and just say, so I hope the message that comes through is that our lives are getting extremely busy, But if you just take time to pause and really think about what are those things that you want to keep on doing and where you can actually use technology to make it better for yourself, it will save you a lot of time going forward. And if you use the right technology that really harness your data, doing risk management, making sure affordability is taken care of, is as easy as clicking a button. Yeah, and then see that opportunity. I think we all are so focused about on screening tenants, and that is really important because you get terrible experiences. But rather see your opportunity as the experience and the relationship with the tenant and your landlord as an opportunity that you can really harness, and make sure you harness the right opportunities, the ones that are really working and are profitable. So yeah, Elise, I think that was sort of a whirlwind tour. Yeah,
Wow. No, Zabeth, I have to say, I'm sure if we were all here, we would have been clapping. That has been absolutely amazing. And what I love what you're saying is relationship, because it does make a big difference. We see it here in Expello. That's why we always, we say we're not debt collectors. We take a different approach, because if you deal with people in a certain way, hopefully you get that's why we are getting the results we are getting. Joanette is asking a very good questions here. The first one was, can you get a new lease signed through Averly? Do you guys have a lease agreement, or does the agency use their own lease agreement? How does that work?
so that is actually one of the new features that we are rolling out very soon. So currently, you'll still use your own lease contract and get that signed, upload it on Averly. Averly manages the lease term. So she gives you heads up when you need to action it, when you need to do inspections and those kind of things. Going forward, that lease will be completely automated. So populated automatically, shared for signing, all of those things. So again, watch that space, or the space.
That's amazing. The other question is, if that you now prompt them and you say, do they want to renew? And the tenant goes, no, thank you, I don't want to renew. Do they automatically get okay, thank you, you need to vacate? Or is that just prompting the agent again then to take the work further?
It is prompting the agent to then make the final decision and say, okay, so if you're not want to stay, that's fine. Let's end your lease. And then Averly will actually initiate that notice so that the tenant then knows, okay, they need to move. And it also gives you then the ability to choose the date by when they actually need to move out. So yeah.
That's amazing, and I think what is nice is Averly is a platform, and as you guys see, I've seen you talks with PipeRob, you have integrated with them, but you work with any agency. It doesn't matter what system they are using, and you make life easier. I like the way that you call it an assistant. I like your logo, by the way. I think it's a very friendly, efficient lady. I'm going to call her a lady because ladies are very efficient. So I love that. I'm sharing my screen just to say quickly, and there's Zabev's details. If you scan the QR code, now and then you have time, you can quickly complete your details, and it will go to Zabev and them and her team to say, please contact us. We want more information. We want to test it. Although I have to say, Zabev, your platform is very, very user friendly. I have to say I laughed because I tested. I love tech, and I tested out the platform, so it was very user friendly from my side. So please, guys, the link is there, and there's Zabev's details. Zabev, thank you very much for sharing this knowledge, sharing a different view. I think when I heard you today, you know what came into mind is people were on a donkey cart and they keep on improving a donkey cart, and now you're pitching up with a car. And that's the difference, is we shouldn't improve what is currently there. We sometimes try something totally new and see how that works. So thank you very much, Sabeth. Stay warm on your side, and thank you for your time.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody. I hope you have an awesome day further.
Thank you, Zabib. So before I say goodbye, just on our side, we are joining Sean Late from Rental Sphere on two in-person workshops. We have the one in Pretoria on Thursday, the 16th of October. VDM at Pretoria is sponsored. JJR is making their venue available for us. It's going to be very, very valuable. You'll see the QR codes on the screen. There is a cost involved, but you can scan it. I think there's might be a few seats available. So if you're in the area, really, there's going to be value. And then on Friday, yes, we are working on a Friday, but we're having Sean here in Gauteng. And that is hosted by VDM in Sandton. Again, that's where the details are there. So you can scan the QR code. If this is going too fast and you miss the QR codes, please send me a WhatsApp and I'll send you guys the link. It's at a discounted rate. Okay, so this half-day session would have costed 800 Rand. I think it's slashed in the middle. So go have a look. I think that's going to be of great value. And then, of course, this is not our last webinar for the year, but I need to do this. I'm saying it so long. On the 21st of November, Expeller team will not be able to attend to any crisis. The team and we will be going out. They don't even know what we're going to do, but we are going to relax, celebrate, and just do a bit of team building before the year ends. So on the 21st of November, our offices will be closed, but if there's a real crisis, if the roof is burning, the police is at the gate, you will always be able to contact me, or our mountain will be able to see you. So that is just a heads up for so long for you in the future. And then again, I'm ending off with Zabeb's details. Go have a look at it. There's so different things. And again, the journey. As a tenant, you do get overwhelmed, and sometimes really feel you get the feeling like you better take it, otherwise I'll just move on. And it does make a big difference if an agency approach your tenant with much more respect and a relationship, because like you say, that tenant might be leasing now because he's rather an investor, buy more properties, lease them out, and don't buy your primary residence. So don't just walk away from that. And that is that from us. Thank you very much for attending. We are going to send it out on the mailer. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. If you missed any of our past YouTube sessions or property pulse sessions, please go to YouTube, download, have a look. It's there to share. And these sessions are always available to everyone. Thank you, everyone, and have an awesome day.